in the chat. Thank you. If you maybe want to say your name and where you're zooming in from, I think that would be really cool. If you want to put that in the chat while we wait a minute. Miranda, I just chatted with Miranda yesterday. Thanks for being here. Florida, Brazil. Okay, New York City. We've got some New York City panelists with us today. Argentina, Bangladesh. Okay, Aurora, New York. Yep, Ithaca. Portland, Maine. Awesome. Pakistan. Amazing. It's so cool to see where everyone is tuning in from. All right. China. Amazing. Manhattan. Chicago. Cameroon. All right. Well, thank you all so much for doing that. I appreciate it. I think let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. Hi, how are ya? My name is Gabrielle Viome. You guys can call me Gabby. I'm one of the assistant directors of admission here at Skidmore College, and I am so excited to welcome you to our Creative Thought Work series. This series aims to amplify Skidmore outcomes through monthly themed panels that reach a large audience of prospective students across the country and around the world. So, our session today is titled Creative Thought Works From Passion to Profession. I'm going to ask my fabulous panelists to introduce themselves before we begin our moderated discussion, which will be recorded and available on the admissions website. After our moderated discussion, we are going to be moving into a Q&A session as well, where our panelists will be available for questions submitted through the chat feature. So, with that, panelists, if you wouldn't mind sharing your name, class year, maybe your majors, minors, and what you've been up to professionally. I'm going to start alphabetically by first name, so that brings me to Annalise.
Thanks, Gabby. And hello, everyone. My name is Annalise. I am based out of California, so I did the trek over to New York that many of you are considering. I graduated the same year that Gabby did in 2021. Hey. And I majored in neuroscience with a minor in anthropology. I loved it. Can't wait to talk about it. Currently, I am Apple retail. So if you ever have seen or gone into an Apple store, you might have seen somebody like myself on a microphone telling you how to use the product. But really exciting is that I'm on an internship to Apple Corporate currently. I won't be able to say very much around it, but just know that I have a lot to share in terms of insights for Creative Thought Matters. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Annalise. Let's go over to Emily.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm really excited to chat with you all tonight. I graduated Skidmore in 2018 and then went to grad school at Stony Brook, which I graduated in 2021 with my doctorate in physical therapy, and then worked for a few years before opening my own practice. So now I have my own practice of a few clinicians and myself. And yeah, I can't wait to answer all your questions, anything science related, or like opening your own company and things like that.
That's so cool. Thanks, Emily. Let's move over to Hannah.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining. I'm stoked to be here and dive in. So yeah, I'm Hannah. I was an English major at Skidmore and a media and film studies minor. And my current role is as a communication storytelling strategist on the communications team at the New York Times. So my work centers around navigating complex, sensitive landscapes and basically building messaging for Wirecutter, our product and design teams, and our creative marketing teams. And before the Times, I kind of spent my career at the intersection of like media and consumer goods, including Danone North America, which is a food and beverage company. And then before that role, I worked as a page at NBC Universal for a year and a half long rotational program. Excited to dive into that. But yeah.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Hannah. And last but certainly not least, Miss Liz.
Hello, thank you all for joining. I'm so excited to be here. So I graduated in 2024. I was a psychology major. I minored in dance, and I was also part of the honors forum. Right now, I'm working at Boston College in a psychology research lab. So I work as the lab coordinator and a senior research assistant there, kind of getting full-time experience in the world of research, on both the research and the admin side. And I'm hoping to pursue a PhD in developmental psychology.
Fabulous. Well, thank you all so much for those introductions. I think we can go ahead and get right into the moderated discussion. So jumping right in, I mean, at Skidmore, as the four of you know, our motto is Creative Thought Matters. It's a huge distinction for us and really informs everything that we do here at Skidmore, both in and outside the classroom. So, my question for you all is how did Creative Thought Matters influence your experience at Skidmore, and how did it prepare you for your career after Skidmore? Does anyone want to jump in first?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump
Yeah,
in.
go for it.
Um, yeah, so I would say creative thought matters, generally speaking, definitely taught me how to connect unrelated dots. So for starters at Skidmore, it was really common to meet people who, are business majors, studio art minors with like a focus in jewelry making. I was an English major reading all the time, but then also minored in documentary film studies, and I was on set working, with equipment and production and cameras while also just reading books all the time. So I think in terms of an academic environment on campus, it really teaches you pattern recognition and really good collaboration skills, which then in a lot of ways effortlessly fed into my corporate career and kind of understanding this like constant shifting landscape, which I'm sure you've heard at length from plenty of people, like out in the real world with a job. Um, but Skidmore and like the creative thought matters sort of ethos, really prepared me to navigate these like cultural landscapes by thinking like an artist and having that background, but also executing like a strategist and having the habits and structure to implement ideas. Um, so it kind of taught me that like the best solution to any type of complex problem in the real world is often a creative one. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And really just thinking outside the box. I think that's great. Anyone else want to add to that?
I think jumping off of that, I think the premise of a liberal arts education and kind of what Skidmore is able to offer is a large focus on kind of the interdisciplinary nature of your studies and how they can kind of cross over. And I think especially focusing on your passion, you might not always go directly into the field that you are passionate about, but how might it, intersect with these other things that you're learning in your classes and so like I came in, I've been dancing since I was 4. I danced all through college. And that was great getting to take classes and perform, but I also got to do dance research and I considered physical therapy. I didn't go that route, but considering like how might you take the passion and combine it with, other areas of interest. And so I think focusing on the interdisciplinary in individual classes, but also in how you want to approach what you want to do next. And all of that is another way that Creative Thought Matters has kind of helped me frame my time at Skidmore and post as well.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Awesome. Annalise, I think I saw you raise your hand, or Emily.
You can go.
Annalise, you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, similar to Hannah and Liz, the interdisciplinariness of being on campus, being around business majors, Even if, I myself, not a business major, not of that mindset, I would always brush up against them and like talk to them in my other classes. Uh, I would say that the creative thought matters manifested for me in this way, where I solely went in as a neuroscience major. It was something that I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. And maybe you're of that mindset too. Maybe there's something in your heart, you're like, I know I want to pursue this. Maybe that's different. What's great is that you have the ability and the schedule to just make it your own. When you're in high school, everybody has different high school experiences, but it feels very structured. So your classes are always given to you, and sometimes you get to pick what you want to do. There's a lot more freedom in college, especially at Skidmore. I fell into the drama acting side of Skidmore because my best friend is a part of that world, and that's where we met at Skidmore. So I was in directing classes as an actor during my first semester there, which was something I hadn't done since I was a kid in camp. And it gave my brain ability to think differently. What if I were to think about something the same way that a director would, but I'm doing it in a lab? Or if I take a dance class, what if I approach anthropology in a way that a dancer would? It helps you see different ways that you can approach a problem that you've been thinking about for a long time, but in a creative way. There's many ways that creativity can come out, but I really encourage you to, wherever you go, hopefully Skid, to not put yourself in a box because creative thought matters.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I so relate to that. I was definitely also the type of person that had so many different interests. I ended up double majoring in English and music myself, and just being able to explore, take all the classes, and do all the things. I think that's so, so important. And Emily, I saw you came off mute.
Yeah, I have very similar things to add. One of the things that attracted me to Skidmore when I was looking was actually the self-determined major option. I didn't end up doing that, so I will preface that. But I do think that that is one of those things where you kind of don't have to take no for an answer. At Skidmore, you really can, if you want to be involved in, I was an athlete and then a science major and then took business classes for like my business interest. And you can really do whatever you want. You can mix things like that. A lot of the research opportunities, which Liz might be able to speak to as well, like since it is such a small campus and such a small field, you can kind of make your own research project or make your own, collaborate with different professors on different things. So being able to kind of mix and match what you like the best, to make your experience what you want is awesome.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much. That was awesome. Moving into my next question, the admissions team gets a lot of questions just about how Skidmore prepares students for life after Skidmore. So I'm kind of curious, what tools did Skidmore equip you with when you were a student here that have allowed you to be successful in your life after college? What's kind of stuck with you? Yeah, Annalise.
Reading, it sounds very general because everybody, we all learn how to read, but there's different levels to it. So for example, when you're in a science disciplinary, you're reading a lot of scientific articles and you read them differently than I would have thought having gone from high school into college. And I remember junior and senior year, that was just weekly, just picking up a new paper every week, dissecting it, taking out what's important about it, and reporting. During it, it kind of felt like super routine, like, okay, it's like over and over. Like, what am I really getting from this? And now that I'm, 5 years into my professional career, I I can go back into any of the different like resources, pull a scientific article, read it quickly, and be able to distill very succinctly why does this have any relevancy to what I'm doing right now. Like I did that for an event that I had hosted about 3 weeks ago about imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're in a new role or a new challenge and you don't feel like you belong. And there are many people that feel that way, even folks that are at the tippy top. So we being me, I went back to my roots. I wanted to feel like a scientist. I went into the papers, I started to read it, and I pulled out things that were important. And I couldn't have done that quickly and be able to distill it for my team to understand if I didn't have those years, weeks, and months of just reading these articles. There's a lot more to it than what seems on the paper. It's about how you apply it. And I am really grateful for that experience.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think that's so, so important. Awesome. Yeah, Hannah.
Yeah, I love that answer too. And just to add on to that, Skidmore really equips you with the ability to almost learn how to learn. As an example, I was an English major, as I mentioned, with a media and film studies minor. But randomly, there was this class called the Physics of Sound and Music that ticked off so many requirements I had. And I was going abroad and I was like, I know I want to travel and do this next semester. But oh my gosh, like, how am I going to push through a physics class? Like, not my lane, not my area of expertise. But being in that class really taught me to communicate with my lab mates, understand how they're thinking, collaborate with them, pull my weight in the ways that I could. And you begin to understand that there's in the real world, in any job you're in, you have to understand how to communicate with people that come from different backgrounds, that approach things differently, that think differently. Even in my role, I'm working with 8 different teams at a time, like our wire cutter product recommenders, our creative marketing team, our legal team, our fact checkers. Like, there's no one way that you're going to learn works. It's like you have to be able to continuously pick up on patterns. And Skidmore really gave me that ability to adjust, pick up on dynamics, pivot, try something new. And I think that's really unique with a small school where you're almost pushed to have these interactions with people where you're like, this is feeling out of my depth and uncomfortable, but that really is what develops those skills that you then, are able to use in your real life in whatever job you have. So it was, yeah, um, really, really great to like have that experience. And I think, yeah, it's proven to be successful in my career so far.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I took that physics class as well. Also, totally not in my lane, but loved it. Let's see, Emily or Liz, do you want to add to any of that? Yeah.
Sure. So actually on Annalise's point about reading, I actually did a workshop today for my undergrad RAs on reading articles and like things to get from that because I think Skidmore really did give me a very strong foundation in that. So I'll just echo that. And then I think the relationships that you gain from Skidmore, both your friends and professors, mentors, advisors, continue to serve you after graduation. I think being an undergrad only kind of environment. You get to know your professors really well, speaking specifically to that. And so Erica Wojcik, who is my psychology mentor, I did research with her, and she's just fantastic. I keep in touch with her, but she's like, I've talked with her throughout the application process for my current job, throughout the grad school application. Like, keep in touch with your professors. They can help you so much. Like, keep giving feedback on things. They can also, offer you opportunities and share things that, made you think of or made them think of you or vice versa. But I think those connections keep serving you well. It's also just great to have those people in your corner. And same with your friends, like they'll go into a variety of fields, but like we talked about kind of with that first question and interdisciplinariness, like crossover happens all the time. You'll need a connection in whatever field. And I mean, I feel really lucky to have really wonderful friends from Skidmore, so I can, call them up and just ask them. So I think the relationships are another really big plus of Skidmore.
Yeah, that's a really, really big one, Liz. Just being able to build those relationships with your professors. And, we are such a small school, 2,700 total, average class size being 16. So yeah, I mean, definitely taking advantage of those connections is huge. And yeah, Emily, did you want to add?
Yeah, I would echo all of that as well, and add that the independence that you learn at Skidmore is also really important. Your professors are never, going to leave you out on a limb without any help. But they do encourage you to problem solve on your own. And I think that's a huge, huge benefit when you're in the workforce. You have as much support as you need, but they're there to challenge you, your professors. And I think that my professors at Skidmore did such a great job doing that, knowing that we could get the help if we needed it, but not being afraid to make mistakes and then learn from those mistakes was huge at Skidmore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of that is so, so helpful. Thank you all. So I want to time travel back a little bit. You're all currently doing really amazing things and have accomplished so much, but I want you to think back. I want you to put yourself in our prospective students' shoes, and just imagine your 17-year-old self going through the college search. What advice would you give your former self to get you to where you are today? Big question. Who wants to start?
I can start.
Sure.
This is maybe not to help you necessarily pick a college, but just in general, I think that something that I wish that I did was write down everything that I thought was a hurdle or that I was really proud of that I accomplished. Because you'll often, and I think a lot of us who are really eager and go-getters, which I know a lot of Skidmore applicants are, you'll get to where you wanted to be and you'll be like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Like, no, you should honor and celebrate every accomplishment you have along the way. So whether it's a high school test that you aced or an SAT, an ACT, or getting into Skidmore, or anything it is, be proud, write that down, celebrate it. In 5 years, you'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe A, I was stressed over that, or like, oh my gosh, I've done so much, I can't believe I forgot about that awesome accomplishment.
I love that. Celebrating the wins. Nice. Hannah, I think I saw you come off mute.
Yes, no, I love that, Emily. Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's crazy. It feels like so long ago being 17. Um, but I think some of the best advice, or I guess the best piece of advice I've received that like I still use in my career today that I'll continue to use is just ask. I wish that at that age, you have questions about things, like little things you're interested in, threads you want to follow. Just don't be afraid. I mean, again, however you're proceeding with your college process, to just ask the questions and be like, what was this experience like for you? How did it lead to this? How can I be connected with this person that's in this program that I'm interested in? Even if you have no idea what direction you want to go in, like I did, I knew I kind of wanted English media, something along those lines. um, just being able to, unapologetically ask questions about things that will inform your journey will be so helpful. Um, and I learned this at Skidmore too, where you just need to ask about programs that exist, pockets of money that exist to go on trips, to have internships, to gain experiences that, could change the trajectory of your thinking around your life. Just don't be afraid to ask. That's what I would tell my younger self. Just go for it. Ask the questions and kind of, you know, gain the information that you need because knowledge is power.
Yeah, I really resonate with that personally, Hannah. I think looking back on my whole college process, the one thing I did more was to ask questions and not be afraid. And all of your questions are so, so valid. So please ask them. Um, awesome. Liz or Annalise, do you want to add?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think, well, what Emily was saying, I think is a fantastic idea. I did something similar at the end of last year, like personally, and then I also, in my work life, I just keep a running to do, even of small things. So I look back week to week, month to month, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did so much, which is really great to not be like, well, I did all these small things and they didn't matter. It's like, look at how much you actually did. And putting pen to paper is a really great practice. So I would second that. I think I would also tell my 17-year-old self, like, just try everything, which I think is a little bit similar to what Hannah was saying. There's so many opportunities at Skidmore, and especially on the money. Like, we have the Summer Experience Fund, the Student Opportunity Funds. I got travel grants to go to a conference. There was so much that if you ask about it, or there's probably somebody doing a tabling about it and you apply for it, there is a world of opportunities that kind of opens up. And there's just so much there. I did research in dance and in psych. In the psychology department, I shadowed a school psychologist because I was like, maybe I want to do that. I did clinical field experience and I got to stay the summer and I got money from the Summer Experience Fund and I got to see what it's like to work in a psychiatric hospital. Then I got to do research in the psychology department and I got to go to a conference that was funded by Skidmore. So just try all the things and just, yeah, I don't think if you come in, you're like, I really want to do this, and then it doesn't work out, or you don't necessarily love that. Also, just not taking that as a failure, taking it as like, what did you learn from that? What did you like? How do you want to translate that to something else? But just, it's all part of your journey to wherever you're going to end up. But just, yeah, try everything, keep an open mind. There's just so much to do at Skidmore, and everyone is there to support you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Thank you, Liz. And Annalise.
Ditto on everything, especially the how I've distilled it in my head because there were so many ads that I was just like, oh, I want to be able to speak to it. So I'll try to be as succinct as possible. I think Skidmore, if I have to, really drive home, like, hey, Skidmore was it for me. They have a big school view, but a small school support system. Short story, I'll try to be brief. I'm from California. I was the only person that decided to go to, Skidmore, upstate New York for my school. I didn't have a support system. That's kind of why I wanted to go. So speaking to folks that are, thinking about coming to the US, like I don't know what that journey is like, but I do understand leaving your family to pursue something that you don't know what's going to happen. You might be of the same mindset of, I just want to be somewhere that I can make my mark. You can make your mark at Skidmore and you want to be uncomfortable because that's where I was. I chose to be uncomfortable because I wanted to be somewhere that I had never been before. So just touching down on that plane, walking on the campus, check. You're going to feel that way. The thing that really sent me for a loop when I was 17 was that I knew exactly what I wanted. And for those that do know what they want out of this, you might be like, here's my list of schools. Here are the schools that I'm really thinking about. I like this about this school. I like this about that school. For me, it was contemplating leaving my family and choosing Skidmore over other schools that could have brought me a different experience. I was a track runner in high school and I really wanted to pursue it, but there is no track currently. Let me know if that's incorrect now at Skidmore. And I had to choose, do I want to be an athlete or do I want to be a scientist? And I chose to be a scientist. And I told my physics teacher at the time everything that I was feeling. And after I was done ranting for an hour, he was like, you'll be fine. I was like, what do you mean by that? This is the biggest change in my life. And it may be, but what I'd like to drive home, very similar to what Liz just said, be open minded. Think about what you want out of the next 4 years and see if Skidmore fits that because it definitely did for me. And try not to pigeonhole yourself, meaning put yourself in that box of who you thought or think you're going to be at Skidmore because me and Gabby, we graduated during COVID. I couldn't get a lab job afterwards. And I really had to think on my feet, well, what am I supposed to do? That's where that creative thought matters comes in, where I could translate the skills that Skidmore gave me to something else that I didn't think was possible and excel at it. So wherever you land, I think as long as you know what you want at the end of the day, even if it's like a small thing, you're going to end up where you want to be. Just be open-minded about where it takes you.
Oh my goodness. All so helpful. Thank you all so much. And yeah, I want all of you to really just sit with all of that for a second. I know it's a lot to think about and process, but these are really, really wonderful people who have accomplished such cool and amazing things. So yeah, I really want to move into the question and answer portion. So we're going to do that. And again, kind of sit with that for a second. Everything that we just kind of went through, think about what you might want to ask. Um, but feel free to go ahead and start submitting questions via the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. I do see that we've already been getting a bunch of questions, which is amazing. Thank you all. Um, so yeah, I'm going to relay those questions out to panelists. And I do want to make a note, just given that this event is a chance for you all to engage with our alums regarding their experiences. I do ask that you try to refrain from questions asking about our admissions process. I instead want you to be creative and ask questions maybe about their time at Skidmore and their experiences that they've had at Skidmore and after Skidmore. So go ahead, start sending those in. I'm going to start relaying these out because we are getting quite a few. I'm going to start right at the top here. Let's see. Okay, sustainability at Skidmore. Okay. Does anyone want to speak on what sustainability has been like at Skidmore? I can also give a brief overview as well.
I can speak a little bit to it, but you might
Sure.
have more information. Um, and I believe this is still happening, but I was an RA with Res Life RA. So I worked on the sustainability floor was my floor in its first year. So it was very new. And then I think the following year or two, it kind of blossomed. There was a class that accompanied it. So a lot of people on the floor opted into taking a class. We have a garden on campus. And some of the food that's grown there goes to the dining hall, which is also really awesome. And then there's a hoop house now, which is allowing people who manage the garden to grow food all year round, which is really exciting and happened. So I was part of the Environmental Action Club as well. And one of the former presidents was also an ES major, and that was part of her capstone. So getting to kind of hear about that and see that happen was really exciting. So there's opportunities to get involved with the sustainability office. They run a lot of programming with the community garden. We also have lots of acres of woods, Northwoods, and so there are Northwood stewards and things like that that you can choose to get involved in. There's also clubs, so Environmental Action Club. They do a lot of tabling. They do a lot of action, as the name would allude to around campus and also in the greater area. We went to a couple protests in my time in the club around climate change and things like that. Skidmore sustainability, I know that there's composting programs. They really tried to get that up and going my last year or so, and I'm hoping that that's kind of grown. But yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved in sustainability beyond just taking environmental science or studies classes. But Gabby, you can definitely talk a little bit more to that, maybe.
I mean, Liz, I think you kind of nailed it. That was beautiful. Yeah, and I think you mentioned we do have sustainable housing as well. So students that are involved in our sustainability office and club on campus, about 37% of our campus is geothermally heated and cooled as well. So yeah, it's something that we're definitely passionate about and take seriously. It's something that our students are really, really passionate about as well. But thanks, Liz. That was beautiful. Okay, let's see. How do you think Skidmore can help prepare for a future in politics or literature? So, Hannah, maybe I could help speak to the English piece as well, but I don't know if you want to add anything about the English department, classes you took, internships.
Definitely. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was an English major. So I can certainly speak to the English department, a little bit to the poli-sci department. I took a few political science classes. But yeah, I mean, the English major was stellar. I loved all of my professors. The range and depth of the courses in the English department was I mean, they were just fabulous. So yeah, I think there are so many professors within the department that have like wild ranges of backgrounds and experience from, following the literature path of academia to writing books on the side, whether that's, academic books, more creative writing. And also the thing I will say is a lot of professors in the English department were fantastic about, working through what your career looks like after being an English major, whether you want to continue schooling, what organizations or companies they've worked for. I was connected with two different people I believe that I interned for during summers in between, that all were sort of like literature, media focused, that I would not have known on my own. So yeah, I think it really prepares you well. And also, at least I felt being an English major there it is so cross-functional, like you can use it in so many ways. I was told, a few times in passing, being an English major, like what do you use for that? I mean, any career that you want to pursue, you need to be able to have that analytical thinking and understanding how things work. I wish I could speak more to like the poli science department. I took a few intro courses, which were great. And then two people in my year, off the top of my head, went into politics, and I'm pretty sure they both live in DC and like, yeah, love their jobs. And I think one of them who I graduated with works on the Hill in DC. So yeah, I think there are like so many different ways to combine um either of those majors or really have a path laid down for you that like feels this like the structure and bones are there as you move through Skidmore. And the last thing I'll say is I was the arts and entertainment editor for the Skidmore newspaper, which was a really good marriage between two of those because I knew I liked media and writing, but I wasn't quite a journalist. I wasn't like on the novelist end. And I think as all of my wonderful co-panelists mentioned, there are so many awesome, interesting ways to like marry your interests across departments. So yeah, that was also a great experience. A lot of like political science folks wrote for the newspaper, arts, sciences across the board. So if that helps to answer your question.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great overview, especially of the English department. I was also an English major, like I mentioned. I had a great internship during the summer as well that I got through the department. And then another thing I'll add for political science, we have a great, I like to say it's a domestic study abroad program in Washington, D.C., where juniors can spend a semester in D.C. and they'll take classes at American University, and they can also get internships while they're there as well. But amazing. Let's see here. Did any of you study abroad? Okay. Annalise, do you want to talk about your time abroad?
I would love to. I will preface that it got cut short because that's when COVID hit.
Oh,
So I was in London for about a month and a half, 2 months, and was had to be sent home. No way around it. Had to be back. But I think there was another part of the question too of like financial aid. So I don't
yeah.
know if that was in tandem with, but I was able to go to Skidmore because of financial aid. I would not have gone to Skidmore if I did not have that package. I was able to come to Skidmore and be financed for half tuition every year, which is something that is not necessarily possible at other schools. And Skidmore really saw me and saw the value. So, prefacing that, I was still able to go study abroad, which was fantastic. And I had paid my way through college partially by working at the dining hall. Hence why I have it behind me here. Um, there are other places that you can also work at the college, at Skidmore here, whatever kind of fits your sway in life. I myself This was my first job ever, and I met with people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. It really helped me with my not just kitchen skills, but also talking to different people from different perspectives, politically, geographically, and having a similar goal at the end of the day. And this was like 2, 3, maybe 4 hour shifts that I'd be doing every week. And I did it every year, not just because like I needed to make sure I had my financial aid with me, but because I actually liked it. And I was able to talk to people that were in completely different majors, completely different mindsets than me, but we all came to work at the dining hall together. So it is possible. I would definitely on a need basis, everybody's situation is different. But if you're like me and you wouldn't be able to afford Skidmore, Skidmore does have the funds to allow you to do things like study abroad, like be able to go to conferences, like Liz mentioned. I was able to do that as well. It's feasible, which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary. And definitely a decent amount of our students do study abroad. I would say over half at this point in time do go abroad at some point in the 4 years, junior year being the most common time to go. And yes, like Annalise was saying, your financial aid package will go abroad with you, which is amazing. Okay, let's keep chugging along here. Y'all are sending in great questions. Um, let's see. How did your interdisciplinary experiences at Skidmore specifically prepare you for the nonlinear challenges of your current career? That's a great question. I want to tackle that one.
I'm happy to add a short bit for that one.
Go for it.
Just because graduating from Skidmore, I mentioned this before, but I started off in live production. I thought I wanted to be on set with cameras, a film crew. I loved that environment. And then I was already graduated when COVID hit, and COVID shut down every production crew, every set. They were not hiring right when I was looking for a job after doing that rotational program. So funny enough, I got my job at the food brand company at Dano North America during COVID through the LinkedIn alumni network. A few people were posting open roles, and they had this digital comm specialist open on their team that was fully remote all throughout COVID. So it does speak partially to, how Skidmore makes you adaptable, but also speaks to the strength of Skidmore's alumni network, which I know we had a few questions about that as well. And again, just I think really what helps is being at a small school. Anytime I meet a Skidmore person out in the wild, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I don't meet Skidmore people that often. And I think it really creates a very cohesive, strong alumni network that can really help you get a role over here to pivot back over here to then, get to my role where I am now. So if that, yeah, helps answer.
Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, I also think time management was a huge skill that I was probably learning in high school, but really mastered at Skidmore. Similarly to how Hannah was saying that you learn to pivot really well. I feel like at Skidmore, because it is so small, you can bounce around not only from like club to club, but from like totally different classes to classes. Like I was taking science classes and then took an accounting class, which initially was to like fulfill my major, but then kind of ended up loving like the rules of accounting. That made my brain really happy. So like I still do the accounting for my business now. So like those kind of things, being able to take like something you probably wouldn't have tried, then making it part of like your everyday life is something that definitely helped from Skidmore.
Yeah, I think that's great. Awesome. So, this is a really cool question. What's something about Skidmore's campus culture or student experience that you didn't fully appreciate until after graduating? The dining hall cookies. Liz.
I love the dining hall cookies. So those, I love the mudslide cookies. I will shout those out. I even if when I wasn't on the full meal plan, I had friends who like went to the dining hall and they would bring me them because they knew I loved them so much. But about the campus culture, and I think the campus itself, it we have one road that goes around it. It's called Perimeter Road because it like the whole campus is within it, and then our on-campus apartments are on the other side of it. And just kind of having all of your people in a bubble and just being able to go see your friends at any time and just, I don't know, it just that closeness is really wonderful. And Skidmore's campus is really conducive for that in the residence halls and then also in even in the on-campus apartments, which are really nice, really easy to still get to classes. You're not disconnected from campus. You're able to go to all the events and things and still like live in a kind of townhome-esque apartment, which is really wonderful. But I think just being so close to so many people that I love. And I graduated a year before some of my friends, so I got to go back and visit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just miss this environment of everybody's so accessible. Right now, we can all study together, hang out, go get bagels or anything like that. So I think that's a super big thing with relationships being such a big takeaway.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm also seeing Nate's dog, and he's so cute. I don't know if you guys are seeing this dog. Does anyone else want to add? Hi. Anyone else want to add to that?
I can add to that. I think that something that's awesome about Skidmore is that everyone is like can nerd out about their own thing. So one of my best friends is a Skidmore grad. We graduated together, and the other day she was like, "Oh, I didn't know your husband, who's also a Skidmore grad, was like, she's like, I didn't know he was such a nerd about Pokemon cards." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like he could go on forever." And so like, if you get somebody going, everybody's personality is just so willing to share what they're a nerd about, or like share what they're passionate about. And being so close and being with a small community, you can learn their nerd out moments or learn like their passions, which is something that I don't know that a bigger campus has to offer.
So true. I love that. Okay, let's keep chugging along here. This is a great question. What was your experience like finding a job after college? And how did Skipmore Prepare help you in that process? What was the job search like? I know for Annalise and I, it was kind of like that weird COVID-y time. Yeah,
I can
Liz.
speak a little bit about mine, which is
Sure.
just a couple years ago now. The Career Development Center is super helpful in crafting your CV and your resume and giving cover letter templates. I think also ask your professors. Um, I talked to some of mine because I was applying for research jobs, and they gave me sample CVs of people who had gone on to do similar things and they read my cover letter and they gave me feedback. And so that was really helpful in like the actual putting together application um, process. And then it was a lot of trial and error in for me finding these jobs and applying to them. And then I was given like, maybe look into this lab or look into this server or listserv or website as like a way to find these jobs because the lab coordinator manager jobs are an interesting trying to find them. You have to join a listserv or find a random website at the right time. But I had a lot of support with my professors, and it was definitely a lot of applications. I got really good at writing a cover letter, and then just not feeling like you want to give up after 15 of them. There was a point where I was like, I've written so many, I've interviewed, I haven't gotten. And then I met with Erica Wojcik, who I mentioned earlier, and she was like, it's gonna be okay. Like, we talked about what I wanted to do and what I loved about this field. And a couple weeks after I actually got the interview for the job I'm currently in. So it all works out eventually. But there's so many resources on campus between the Career Development Center, your professor, and then your professors can connect you with people in the field. So I have met with a lot of Skidmore students who are interested in doing something like I'm doing, shared my CV, my cover letter, offered to give them advice on theirs, and also connected them with people if they're more interested in neuroscience or anything like that with people I know. Alums or especially are usually willing to chat and give you some of their time as well. So yeah, just tapping into the network and the resources that you have. But overall, I had a pretty good experience finding a job, so I feel pretty lucky.
That's great. Yeah, and I do want to again reiterate the Career Development Center. Super happy you brought that up. So helpful. You can use them as soon as your first year on campus. I used that office a lot my junior or senior year when I was starting to apply for jobs and internships. I remember I sent in my resume, which I thought was so good, looked great. They fully redid my resume for me, and they were like, "That is not what it's supposed to look like, girl." So just really, really helpful. They do mock interviews as well, which is great, just to make sure you feel confident and prepared when you're going into a job interview, which can be super daunting. So yeah, that's another really great resource as well. Um, let's keep moving along here. I'm gonna kind of scroll here. We're getting so many great questions. Let's see, let's see. Uh, okay. Ooh. As a liberal arts college, how accomplished do you think a STEM major is or can be after graduating from Skidmore? That's interesting. So I will say, I feel like a lot of people, when you think of a liberal arts college, you kind of think of like the humanities, the fine and performing arts. We're actually really well known for our science programs too. We have 10 math and science programs total. So, and biology and psych are among some of our top programs at Skidmore. So, Annalise, Emily, Liz, I don't know if you want to speak to your experience as a STEM major at a liberal arts college. I know we've kind of touched on it a bit, but if there's anything you want to add.
I can add that my experience might be slightly different going into grad school right away. But I don't find, at least from I've actually been on panels like interviewing students for grad school. It's really like the experiences that you had at school, and I think it's actually easier at a smaller liberal arts school to get involved. Um, I mean, of course, like when you apply to a post grad program, you're going to look at your resume and your GPA and things like that. But I think what helps you stand out is the small things you're able to do along the way, which is probably easier at Skidmore. And maybe my loose opinion that might not be super grounded, the curriculum that you're learning is going to be pretty similar at school to school. Like you're a chem major at Skidmore, you're a chem major at Michigan. I'm not totally sure how different that's going to be. But I think, what you do along the way is what makes you stand out.
Yeah, I think that's great. Awesome. I'm seeing another great question here. How would you describe the campus culture at Skidmore in 3 words? Or I guess if you even want to generalize it, how would you describe Skidmore in 3 words? Anyone want to go?
I'll go. I'll toss,
Sure, sure.
yeah, some literature, some words. So yeah, I would just describe it as academic, engaged, and experiential.
Hmm,
I would
I
toss
love
those
that.
three out.
Yeah, love it. Anyone else want to give me 3 more? Or even 1 word?
Do the one word. Totally the relationships. Like
Yeah,
Emily
that's a good one.
said, the curriculum, like for any neuroscience major, English, literature, dance, I'm going out on a limb here, that it's going to be similar. I would talk to somebody who is an anthropology major who is younger than me and they're interested in this death and dying course that I know that Skidmore has.
Mm. Hmm.
So it's not necessarily like, okay, if I climb this college's ladder, I'm going to end up in a different place versus this college's ladder. It's really what you do in that ladder. And what Skimmer provides is there's a lot more points of connection, and it's easier for you to connect those 2 points together and actually be supported in that. The self-determined major, being able to, like, for example, my senior year, I participated in this live action uh, play, I'll say, that I was able to create all by myself. I didn't speak a word, but I was able to convey something that I couldn't have as a neuroscience major in any way, shape, or form. So that was kind of like my big memory that I loved about being at Skidmore, because I wouldn't have been able to make that any other place. So relationships, people that you meet, and the connections that you connect.
Yeah,
Couple words.
I think that's great. Thank you. Let's see. And also, I'm going to shout out my admissions friends, Eileen, Tiffany, and Tiana, who are doing a fabulous job helping answer some of these questions in the chat. Thank you. Let's see. I might do one or two more questions here. Um, let's see. Graduate school. My friends who went to graduate school. How soon after undergrad did you have to indicate your interest in graduate studies? Or maybe when did you start thinking about graduate studies? Yeah,
I
Emily.
started thinking about it probably sophomore year, um, and then applied. Maybe I started junior year. I applied senior year and was accepted before the winter of my senior year. So I actually knew where I was going before I graduated Skidmore, which was awesome. But I will say, like, having friends who did go to graduate school and didn't do that route and had like gap years and stuff. I've actually mentored a girl from Skidmore who took a gap year and she was applying to a BSN program. And she, I don't think you need to know immediately. I hear a lot of people say, I know I want sciences, but I don't know what like area in science I want. And I don't think you need to know. And I think that I actually would argue that maybe I should have taken more time to explore different options like PA, MD, things like that. So take the time to shadow and like really do your due diligence before like jumping. Don't feel pressured to jump and apply too early.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Definitely think about it. Okay, that was a lot. Wonderful questions. I want to ask the four of you one more thing. And that's just if you're going to leave this group of fabulous prospective students with any last little tidbit of advice, what do you want to say to them? What's like your last little sprinkle? Yeah, Annalise.
I know this is a serious decision, probably maybe the most serious decision that you've been able to make in your young life. But for what it's worth, don't take it too seriously. Just be there for the journey, just be there for the experience. The experience will be what it is. Just put yourself in the room where you are going to experience what you want to, or at least open to being a little uncomfortable. Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I think on that, just knowing like you can always pick a different path if something doesn't feel right to you. Like you never have to stick with one thing and can't stray from that. Skidmore is a great place. Explore all your interests. Like I said earlier, try everything. There's so many things to try. So yeah, just keep an open mind and just don't take anything that, if it doesn't go to plan necessarily, that's not a failure. It's just redirection to something that could be even more wonderful for you.
I love it. Awesome. Hannah or Emily, want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll just add a combination of both of those things just to echo that there are so many ways to land places now. Like you kind of view something you want to have or a job you want to do, but I, have learned, and everyone will learn that, like, especially in this cultural landscape, that, like going to a certain school or going down a certain path, like, nothing determines anything. Like, you can zigzag, you can, like, start here, move all the way over to the left. Like, and I think Skidmore is really good at encouraging that and also helping you sit with that discomfort and move through it so that you can continue on your lovely little path. And yeah, just to reiterate again that there are pockets of experiences and money that are out there for the taking that exist that I realized halfway through my time at Skidmore that I wished I had realized earlier around just like being abroad, going on trips, getting 3 months of an experience on like a different campus. I lived on campus the summer after my senior year, and it was fantastic with like a stipend through a doc film studies program. So yeah, that's what I would leave you with.
Amazing. And Emily.
I would say to kind of follow more your passions than what you think you're supposed to do. I feel like even as an adult, sometimes I'm caught up in like, oh no, like my parents think I should do this, or like my friends expect me to do this. Put your passions first, and stick to your gut.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, wow. Thank you all so, so much for your wonderful questions to our wonderful panelists. I mean, as you can see, there are just so many ways that Skidmore has impacted the life journeys and experiences of our alums. And I think the stories that you've heard tonight are a wonderful testament to that. So, if we didn't get to your question, or if you have any further questions, please consider joining another upcoming Creative Thought Works event. Our next one is on March 18th, or you can contact admissions directly at admissions@skidmore.edu with any questions you may have. Again, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our fabulous panelists for their time, and again to all of you for spending time with us today. I really hope you enjoyed it. Keep in touch. Good luck and take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.